right. So again, my name is Michael Damond. Today is the first day of positioning. We're going to take you through this personal branding guide that I developed for one of my divisions of my company, which is called Brand New Shoots. You're going to see some familiar faces inside this guide. This guide is developed from a service that I launched last year using AI. One of the biggest problems that I've run into when I'm working with people to assist them with personal branding, when it's time to do marketing materials, people need to build websites. A lot of people don't understand the value and the importance of having professional looking images. So I know that professional photography can be a barrier to people sometimes because of cost, because of location, because of timing, the logistics, for some, if you want to do multiple outfits and you want to get your hair done, there could be a lot of expenses tied to that. So one of the things that we've done as a company that leads the way in helping people understand how to utilize AI was to say, how can we use AI to solve a problem? And the problem that we were solving was the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs and professionals were lacking professional marketing materials. And one of the main things they were missing was professional photos. How can we use technology in today's AI tools in order to solve that problem? So the problem that we solved was by offering professional AI generated photos. These are photos that are built from the likeness of you and your selfies. So when people order our brand new shoots, they actually send us about 20 selfies from their camera, nothing fancy. A lot of times people want to try to find when they look their best in their best outfit. We do not care and we do not need that. We can dress you however you want to be dressed with the AI technology. We just need to know your likeness. So we developed this service as a way to make it easier for entrepreneurs to have a very low entry point into getting professional photos. So that service is called Brand New Shoots. And when we launched that, we also began to kind of add on and add some other things that we know people typically need. Social media graphics, websites, funnels, all those things are kind of part, and the product has evolved from just AI photos to a full suite of services. So that's the background of Brand New Shoots. There is a website on the cover. If you go to that website, it's going to show you all the images that we generated, a portfolio, some examples, and you're going to see a lot of people who are here in 4040 also featured on that page. So we're going to use this because it's talking about personal branding to guide our discussion on positioning. Okay. So let's start with just talking about what a personal brand is. A personal brand is going to be made up of a couple of different things, and we'll go into each one of these in detail. The first one being the voice that you use to represent yourself. The next being visuals, you know, so visuals, voice, values, and visibility. All right, so let's dive deeper into each one individually. When I talk about voice, so not necessarily about the sound of your voice, but I'm really talking about how do you present yourself and in which tone do you typically talk about your business, talk about yourself. Some examples could be some people are very professional, they want to sound very corporate, they want to make sure that they're doing everything as written in the English language. And then you have people who say, I want to be a little bit more casual. I want to sound like I'm talking to my friend. And when I write content, when I do any side of branding and writing language, I'm really going to kind of use that tone. So when I talk about voice, I'm really talking about the way that you want to present yourself in the way that's going to be most authentic to you. Oftentimes, I've worked in corporate before, and the person I was at work, and the person that I was off of work, and the person that I was in my when it was a side business, when my entrepreneur business was, I had three different personalities and voices that I had to keep up with. So I'm sure a lot of you understand. There is an example here of a sample voice. It says, let's keep it real. Showing up online can feel awkward at first, but your people are out there waiting for you to get visible. So using something like let's keep it real automatically kind of lets you know where that voice is coming from. A lot of people like to kind of use casual language that they might use when talking to their friends, um, because they want the people that they're trying to connect to feel connected to them. It doesn't mean that using a more professional approach is not going to connect. It just means that every different language attracts different types of people. So you, as the entrepreneur, as the brand, needs to be clear on what am I saying to people when I'm writing content, when I'm speaking on a live, when I'm recording a video, like what is my brand voice and how do I want to show up? Okay. So that's voice. Let's talk next about visuals. Visuals are one of those things that I believe, take for granted. I don't think many people understand how important it is to not always look perfect, but to make sure that number one, you have something that is consistent, that when people glance at it and they see it, they automatically know, oh, that's that brand. Yesterday, I gave an example about food, and when you're walking down a food aisle, you know where certain things are because you see that Del Monte green can, or you see that orange from whatever Uncle Ben's, whatever the brands are. You see certain colors that meant you know, like, oh yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. So we're very visual people. When we're walking down aisles, when we're shopping, people are going to be attracted to things that stand out to them. So when you're creating a visual identity for your personal brand, you want to keep in mind the colors that you want to use and how those colors might make people feel. Now, you might notice that a lot of the things that you see for brand new shoots, and for me, I use a lot of purples, I use the turquoise, I use like this very dark green. Those are carrying out all throughout a lot of the branded materials that I've developed. If you think about director Carmen Ray, hers are that red, she has the green, she has like a goldish color. Those are the Be Well colors, okay? So everyone kind of has their own set of brand colors. And when we're doing branding, we typically help clients do that to kind of identify, let's pick some colors that are going to be your core brand color, and then when we can kind of expand and play around from that. On the page here, you see an example. I think I saw you comment in the chat, Dree. This is a set of brand new shoot social pack that we developed for Bree. Not Bree, for I said Bree for Dree. So you could see her colors right away. If you didn't know exactly what any of these say, you could see what Dree's color, her brand colors are. Okay. So when I talk about brand colors, that's what that is. Other things you want to keep in mind is the photo, which is why we started this service with the photo. Knowing that people may not always feel the best and feel confident with the photos that they have, having professional photos when you're marketing your business, when you're running ads, it could really make a difference. There's times when you might be doing something very casual, like a live. People don't have the expectation that you're going to be totally done and dressed up all the time. It just really kind of depends, again, on the voice and the personal brand that you want. Sometimes people like to be able to see what they consider to be the real you, because you're not glammed up. But it again depends. Some people you will never see them outside of that uniform of how they want to show up. But it's up to you to decide how you want to present yourself and be mindful of when you're in and when you might be kind of blurring the lines and outside of that. A lot of my brand photos, you'll notice I'm like wearing, like on the cover, I wear a lot of sweaters. I might have like you see these purple jackets, green jackets. None of these are clothes that I own per se, but I adapted that to if I am going to get dressed up the way that I typically would do it. I kind of walk in the middle with very casual. As you can see, I'm wearing like a hoodie today, but I might wear a jacket with a collar shirt but no tie. That's my style. That's what I kind of prefer. But I can put on the tie, I can put on the bow tie, whatever that is. But you need to figure out what you want to do and how you want to show up. So let's go to the next part of the personal brand, and we will have some time for some questions because I know you guys might have questions. Put them in the chat in the meantime as well. The next part is about values. So I want to talk about values a little bit because this is really going to tie to how people emotionally connect to you, and how people understand what you stand for. So I bet you there are multiple people on this call who can tell me what Denisha stands for. Put it in the chat for me. You know Denisha up here in the orange with her brand new shoots. What do you think Denisha stands for? I'm gonna read some of these out. Health, fitness, okay? Fitness. Now, I want somebody to unmute for me and tell me why. Why did you say that? What do you know? Let me get a hand for somebody to kind of volunteer and talk a little bit about what they've learned about Denisha. You may have never met her in person. Okay? Valerie, go ahead.
I connected with Denisha right away, so I do know that she has a physical fitness program. She's on a journey of her own for health and wellness. She's been juicing, um, very strict diet of the foods, and she's dropped a substantial amount of weight since convention. She does boot camps. The transformation is fun to follow because I'm on her page, and it's very inspiring to see her out and about talking about that business while connecting travel. And she is one of the nicest people you're ever going to want to meet.
Personal
Very
brand.
professional, down to earth, but very professional.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Valerie. Let's pause for a second. And I want everyone to kind of reflect on everything Valerie just said. Now, I don't know if you guys met. Have you ever met in person? You and Denisha?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we met
Yeah.
at
Okay.
convention and we've done some presentations together on Zoom. But I
Yeah.
met her last year at, I guess it was convention. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
A lot of fun lady. And I don't know if I think she's a single mom with three children as well. So
Okay.
she's balancing a lot.
Thank you for that. Now, I showed a picture. Uh, Valerie reflected on all the things that she knew and knows about Denisha. How many people on here have never met Denisha and commented in here? I see people say health and wellness. Where do you think these impressions come from? These impressions come from the fact that Denisha is positioned to stand for and reflect the values of confidence and strength, fitness, eating right, travel, health and fitness. So I want you to make the connection between how you show up, what you talk about, and what it is that you do, the impression that you make upon people. All those things are tied into the identity that we're referring to as your personal brand. So a lot of times people want to make personal branding very complicated and you think it's going to be something that requires all these graphics and all that other stuff. That's a part of it, but it's not the full story. So someone who has been following or sees Denisha's brand new shoot photos or follow some of her lives, sees her videos, they can pick up on all those things that aren't said, but they're felt, they're seen, and they're understood. Okay. So let's go back to our document and let's talk a little bit more. Let me go back 1 second. Talk a little bit more about the other. Thank you, Carmen. I realized like, oh, I'm juggling a lot of stuff over here. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. All right. So we're talking about values. What matters most to you and your work? What are you unwilling to compromise on? We heard a lot about that during purpose. Some sample values are overprotection, authenticity over performance, empowering others to take action. Carmen talks a lot about empowering women entrepreneurs over 50. So all those things are tied into the values, and we all have our own. So just think about the way that you want to position yourself for those things to stand out. Last but not least, we're going to talk about visibility. Okay. So visibility is what people see, where you show up, how often you show up. Visibility is really going to be about the places that people go to consume information or to receive information. And if you're going to be somebody who shows up in that space. So usually during this time, and I will do that, we do like an example. I'll Google myself. I'll go on social media and search for certain keywords related to myself. But you want to know that it's important for you to have places or a place that you want to show up, place that there are already people on the platform that can find you, and you want to make sure that you have content that reflects the values, the information, the things that you share. So all of those things are going to have you best ready to be very well positioned, especially in today's world where people are online looking for information. So there is a sheet inside right after this page that talks about research before you position. And this is going to be your first homework assignment for this phase. And we're going to go to a demo and we're going to take some questions. So again, you can't stand out if you don't know what else is out there. I often will Google myself and with some keywords just to see what shows up if I meet somebody in passing, tell them my name or they see my name. What are people going to see? And is it something that I put out there that I want to reflect me? I do that for my business names. I also do that for some of my personal names. So what I want you to do on your own is just to take some time to identify, um, number one, who do you want to reach? Who is the audience? What are some of their needs? What are some of those values that they might connect with? What conversations might they be having? and how can you insert yourself in that? So identify what your audience, who your audience is, and what they need. I identified an audience of entrepreneurs who did not have professional photos, but I know that they need them. They knew that they needed them. So my solution was to offer brand new shoots and provide a way for people to not have to leave their home to get those professional photos that they know are important to show up the way they want to show up. So I identify my audience, identify what they need, and I offer the service for that. The next thing I want you to do is analyze any potential competitors. Now, when I talk about competitors, I'm not talking about analyze these people to see if they're better than you, if what you do is better than them. You can learn from other people in your industry and in your field. Best believe when I developed brand new shoots, I checked out some of the top personal brand photographers, keywords that I searched. I took a look at their websites, at their social media. What did they show post? How were they showing up? What were they talking about? I identify who those people are because I know if I'm finding them, people who are searching for that service is going to find them. So I want to make sure that I'm looking at what other options do people have if they're looking for professional headshot photos or AI headshot photos. Okay. Last but not least, I want you to highlight what makes you different and valuable. This is really going to pull out what your valuables are. So what your values are. What made Brand New Shoots different and valuable was the fact that we were offering a service that people want, need, but often can't get either because financially it's out of range for them at the moment they need the photos, or maybe physically out of range for them. Maybe they can't get to a location. They don't know a photographer. They don't know the first thing about doing that. So I gave you a perfect example of how Brand New Shoots fills all three of those areas out. Now I need you to go through the same process. Think about your values. Think about your visibility. Think about how your brand shows up. Think about your voice, and just map that out. And then think about the people that you want to attract and you want to connect to. I know that Wani talked last week about her YouTube channel and starting her YouTube channel. I think it's called That Church Girl. So it's obvious who she's connecting to, what her values might be, and who she's trying to appeal to. Okay. So you need to have something that's going to be very clear so that when people look you up or find a service that you might offer, if you're not doing personal branding and ties to businesses too, people can find you and they can find you easily and understand what it is that you do. So the example that we did with Denisha was perfect because all that stuff, Valerie could have wrote a book about Denisha in that moment. And Denisha didn't even have to be here in the room. That's how you know she's doing a good job with her personal brand. Okay. So let's do a demo real quick and let's me show you what it looks like when I'm doing research so that you can figure out how to do some research for yourself. Okay. So 1 second here. Then I'll take some questions. I'll leave about 5 minutes for questions at the end. All right. So I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to start out really simple. Let's first do what I just talked about. Professional headshot photos. Okay. So as I type, Google is recommending phrases. Professional headshot photos near me, professional headshot photos women. Okay, so you see all these different keywords. The reason why these are the words that are coming up is because Google knows that these are the most popular search phrases for these groups of characters. So as I go back, professional headshot, I see headshots near me, AI. Okay, so if I was to go down and say professional headshots AI, let's click that. All right, so I get a page full of results. Usually you're going to see sponsored results. If you don't know, that means these people paid to be first. But all these other ones down here are all different websites where Google picked up the keywords professional headshot AI. So when I was building brand new shoots, this is the type of search that I had to do to see who are my competitors, what are they offering, what are they doing. Now, at the time when brand new shoots launched, AI wasn't very good with ChatGPT and some of the basic tools at generating photos that look like the person. So we really had to put more time and effort into developing our process for doing that. Nowadays, it's gotten a lot easier. I should say a lot better, and it gets close. But everybody who has brand new shoots photos like None of them still compare to my brand new shoot photos. And that's because we take that extra time to train our AI in order to generate that process. Okay. So that's an example of what that looks like. Let's do a search really quick if I type in Michael Damond. Okay. So you're going to see some recommendations again. Let me just hit enter. All right. So let's see what comes up most popular for me if somebody was searching on Google for Michael Damond. You see Michael Damond Campbell with at Michael Damond. That's my Instagram account. LinkedIn, Michael Damond Campbell. Take a look. What did I say? Your personal brand. Okay. So I put inside of my LinkedIn bio my title, Michael Damond Campbell, your personal brand positioning coach. All right. That was intentional because I am trying to attract people who are interested in personal branding, who want to get better positioned. So you see how all those keywords are tied into not only the text you put on a graphic, but what Google recommends next, what ChatGPT and Gemini and all these AI tools are going to recommend. So if you're not generating any type of content that again reflects your values and your voice, and your visibility, all those things are important to make sure that you can show up like this. Okay. Monetize your knowledge. So my YouTube, my threads, Spotify, podcast, my website, all these things show up. If I was to click on images, you see me, my AI photos, some old photos. If I click on videos, since this is Google, they're going to recommend YouTube videos. So I wanted to make that connection to you so that you can see how important it's beyond just the picture and the graphic that you post. Best believe if you're talking to somebody, you're meeting them and giving them your business card, they're going to look you up. And it's up to you to decide, okay, what do I want them to see? What do I want them to know? Um, am I putting information out there for that and I want people to find, or am I just going to leave it up to the AI that's built into the search engines to show people whatever is out there about me or somebody talking about me? So the more content you have out there about you using your personal brand identity elements, the better positions you're going to be. I took up that whole page when people type Michael Damon, and that's because I have enough content information out there for that. All right. That was day 11. That's our first day of positioning. We're going to open up for questions. So here's what I want to do because we have 4 minutes. I want to keep your questions brief and to the point so that we can get enough people in. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. And then I'll also try to look at the chat. But if you can raise your hand, that would be helpful. All right. So, Valerie.
I just wanted to tag on your comment when you're looking to brand yourself, train your I call mine Angel,
Mhm.
about you. Do a search first, what you find out about you, but when you give that information to the AI or ChatGPT, the more you share with him or her about yourself, the more it's going to start coming up in searches. It's just another way I have learned to drive people to my pages.
Okay. Thank you for that. Very true. Thank you. Michelle, PV.
Yes. What is when you're trying to figure out what your brand is, what is a good way to go about doing that? Like to hone it in on something that you feel would be attractive to other people. Like, is
Mm,
there a certain like in-depth assessment that you can do to figure that out, or
hmm
any
Yeah,
any guidance on that?
that's a good question because I'm sure a lot of people feel that same way. But guess why we spent the first 10 days talking about purpose? Your answer is going to be there.
Mm,
Your answer is
okay.
going to be within your purpose. So purpose, and let me everything that I do today and everything that I promote, everything that's part of my business and the way that I show up is rooted in my purpose. For those who may have heard the story before, I used to work in a corporate, hated it, needed to get out, knew I couldn't live the rest of my life that way, had to figure out a way to survive and maintain outside of that. Started a business. It was in the travel industry at that time as a home-based agent for a different company. Did that for a year or two, but didn't really know what in the heck I was doing. There was no guidance and no good system in place. But from that, I learned how to do my own marketing and build my own website. And my purpose was rooted in that. my purpose was rooted in I went through this experience, and I know that there have to be other people out there who may want to start a business who don't have the money, who want to do something similar. So my purpose was rooted in the fact that I was self-taught and learning how to figure that stuff out, and I start offering that as a service to other people. So anytime I meet an entrepreneur, I'm very passionate about people, regardless of what part they're in, because I've been from the working at 9 until whatever in the morning while my daughter was asleep, working on the business, to going to work in the morning, to now being home full time working the business and not thinking about looking for a job. So I've been that whole stretch of thing, and I know what all those experiences look like. I can speak to that all day to anybody. So I would say look into your life experience, look at the journey that you've been through, look at the reason why you do what you do, the purpose that you've identified, and your answer is really going to be in there. Because who are you best positioned to help than somebody who's going through something similar to what you've gone through or where you are in life?
Thank you.
Carmen
That
reflects that
helps
all
a
the
lot.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you. Carmen?
Yeah, that's so good, Mike, because you have been so instrumental in helping me to gain clarity around that. And what I found over these last probably, I'll say 15 years, is that we had get our rhythm, but then we jump ship because of the slow start and the people not responding. I remember, knowing that my main work was for women. And then as I evolved, I niched it down and said, not just women, women entrepreneurs. And one person that I was connected with that I really admired her work, she said to, and I kept saying, but I don't want to work with just any woman. I want to work with women in transition, women that have been through some things. Like that's who I really want to work with. And because I admired her, she shut that down. She was like, "Oh, so you basically want to just keep serving poor women." And that's not really what I meant because transition don't necessarily mean where you are financially. No, I mean women who have been through some life things and they can admit that they're not the group of women that's trying to act like everything is perfect. And but because I admired her, I literally started changing my messaging because like maybe she's right, maybe I am speaking to the wrong group. And I literally start changing my messaging for like 2 years until I did more work with Mike to get really comfortable and know this is my people. My people will find me. And then that's the thing. It seemed like it's so difficult, but it's the core of what purpose is about is what is it and who do we want to serve if money was not involved? And like I when I leave this group of people, I feel higher, I feel greater, I feel more in alignment. And once we get that, we really are positioned to go forth and do the necessary work. We need to be positioned for that audience. So I just want to add that because Mike, you have been so instrumental in helping me with that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Really good point. It's a journey and it's a process that you're going to go through. So we'll talk about that, and you're going to work through these things as we go through the rest of the days. We're going to close out with Director D.F. Russell, and again, make sure you have that PDF guide, and then we'll continue the conversation tomorrow. So, Director Russell, DF.
Thanks. Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. The This is kind of in response to Michelle's question around uh-oh. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Michelle's question around like how do you know like with your branding and who you're responding to and all of that. And then what Director Carmen just said. I was just at breakfast in a restaurant and I used to always think that because I was a principal, that I was only focused on, educators, right? But when you keep going, you recognize how many more people are watching you and it's not just your gender. So I was in a restaurant just now, and there's a well-known pastor in the city came in. He sees me out on Facebook and stuff, and I've prospected him once before, but I think he had a stroke. And so, now you see him, here and there, just not as much. Well, this morning, my thought was, he came up to the table and he said, "Hey, wow, I feel like I'm talking to a real life celebrity." I was like, "Get out of here, Pat." We just kind of joked it off. But when he said, are you saving any money? Are you taking all the money, or are you saving any for any of us? I said, yeah, I don't want the money. I said, I'm trying to help you, but you don't want it, So he went to go sit down, but it wouldn't leave me. I said, I should pick up his check. And my husband kind of taught me that, because my husband said he was taught that whenever you're out and you see a pastor, because we're in the church, you pick up their check or something like that. So I said, I'm gonna pick up his check today, but I'm gonna wait until I'm leaving out. I don't want to tell him, of course. Well, he had already cashed out all of that, but just the thought in my mind was like, just continue to build the rapport. Do you know, as we were leaving out, we were leaving at the same time, and he stopped me. He said, you know, your business, I really, it looks so interesting, but he looked at himself up and down. He said, but I'm disabled, and I can't really get around much, so I just don't think it would benefit me. I see you, Val, shaking your head, right? And I said, Pastor, please. I said, stop. I said that you're definitely the type of individual who needs to pay attention to this. And as we were walking out, he's walking like Mr. White is walking now, with the cane and his one arm not working, but he still drives. And then I thought about Brandon Grace, the director in the business, the young man who was on Social Security, and he's in a wheelchair now. And he said he was determined to give his Social Security check back. Long story short, when I told him, I said, no, it's for you, Pastor. I said, there's a way that you can still earn income in this fashion. He said, really? He said, well, I'm interested in hearing about it. Call me today. So when we talk about positioning, Nicole and I went to brunch the other day. She's on here. And Nicole can tell you how many people walked in that restaurant. People saw, say, hey, you're the travel lady, right? Or, hey, I see you out at blah, blah, blah. And she said, wow, you're known out here. So as we're positioning ourselves on social media, we're putting ourselves in position in real life where we are, which is why it's so important. Yes, I love to go out to eat, but all of that is part of marketing and demonstrating time freedom, personal freedom, all of that at the same time. And you never know who you're going to attract just by doing what you do. I'm in sweats, little cap, no makeup, no nails on, just being Denise today. And it still attracts the people who you need to attract. So I just wanted to kind of share that because it was in line with Michelle and Carmen with what they were saying.
Thank you. That was excellent. Perfect way to close out. So thank you for that. Everything that we talked about today was reflected in that story. The fact that somebody identified her from somebody she probably didn't think was paying any attention at that too. All that stuff matters. And when you show up online and when you're using your personal brand elements in order to position yourself properly, these are the type of stories that you start to hear more and more and more. They happen to you over and over again. So